Engatsho igwijo mbukeli omhle oqhafuqhafu ekhaya Jikelele solusazi into yokubana asifika ngasigalelekile jonga amanzi sinxibele isuit lalela singenile phakathi inside uyaqonda ukhumbule kaloku mbukeli into yokubana ikhaya likhaya ngothando imfudumalo nenzondelelo sinjalo ke si ekhaya Jikelele asifika ngasonge ezandla koko ke kuninzi esikuphathele kona siyacamagusha emiqolombeni siyacamagusha mbukeli sithi wena nyenyisa umbhinqo uzivukhululekile kuba kusekhaya Jikelele ndimleke ukhalosa kalubisi unonkanyezi xa ndizithutha ke ndithi ndingumadlongothi umazipho umamshukuma kodwa ke namhlanje andishukumi ndodwa ukhona umamtshali inzwakazi yaphaya phesheya kwaMageba
washo ntombi yashukuma shukuma mshukuma
lalela shukushukuma
Sasivele sangena sagula kudela ke mbukeli sangena necapha wena wabona amaphoyisa ezothi ngathi umfana udayisa umthunzi weinkukhu umgodla wethu ugcwele phama uyaphuphuma sikuphathele yonke into nokonke okudingayo ezemidlalo njengoba kuqhubeka indebe yomhlaba nje eyithinta iqembu elibusayo kanye nokunye nje okuningi hey wembukeli ngikhumbula kahle othisha besitshela ukuthi uma ngabe siphathe kahle esikoleni inkampani ezinkulu izosibanga siyophila impilo yokugwilika sibe ngomntakabani lalela fast forward sila asikaza nje sibangwe inkampani kunalokho ke yithi inkosi yami esilandela zona bekezela ke mntakamasa liphakathi nendawo yisonto ngiyacabanga ukuthi nezidubulo ke seyithe kuphela kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi ke usuku lelungiselela yona futhi iweekend enkulu sabona ke mbukeli asibheke ehamba phambili kuleli hora
Ukhaya ngatshe ukwachaze ngendlela wabona ngayo umeyiwa elele phansi nenxeba nangendlela bancede ngayo bamkhwelisa emotweni phambi kokuba abalekiselwe esibhedlele.
Uqalisile ngakusho lowo osolwa ngokuba yishoshozela lwezibhele ezaqubuka ngoNtulikazi wango-2021 enqanqatheleni yezitolo eMgungundlovu KwaZulu-Natal.
Bobaba senza umehluko bobaba asenza umehluko bobaba asenza umehluko bobaba asenza umehluko bobaba asenza umehluko bobaba bane bobaba abaneqiniso bobaba abaneqiniso bobaba bangempela sikhuluma ngamadoda enza umehluko 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 siyabingelela kubabukeli ekhaya Jikelele sithi ke hlalani ninethezeke siyikholwa brothers siyabonga
Ngatsho kuyo ikholwa brothers sabule mgamango ovimba wethu ingqina elitsha kwityala lokubulawa kaSenzo Meyiwa linike ubungqina ngokuva izithonga kwikhaya lakwaKhumalo ngobusuku wabulawa ngabo ngonyaka ka-2014 Ukhaya ngatshe ke ukwachaze ngendlela wabona ngayo uMeyiwa elele phansi nenxeba nangendlela bancede ngayo bamkhwelisa emotweni phambi kokuba abalekiselwe esibhedlele ungatshe ke ngummelwane wakwaKhumalo kwaye ulingqina lesibini kwityala elitsha labatyholwa abahlanu kwinkundla ephakamileyo ePitoli Andile Khumalo uqebile ukunika ubungqina
Ungatshe uchazele inkundla ngesanqe esasivela kwikhaya lakwaKhumalo ngobusuku bokwehla kwesisithwakumbe
umsindo lo wangeza ukuthi ngiyefestereni because ngiqale ngezicommotion or kushawutwana or ngathi kuyaphushwana kahle kahle into eya catch attention eyaba loud wakhala umnyango like umnyango ngathi uvaleka kabuhlungu
Utheke wachaza indlela awafika ethe natya ngayo phansi uMeyiwa kwikhaya lakwaKhumalo
bekalele bheke phezulu so sashesheke sabambisana ke nabafethu namanibazi samhlalisa sazama ukumphakamisa okay ahlale upright
Ungatshe uchobele inkundla ngemizuzu awathathwa ngayo uSenzo wakhweliswa emotweni wabalekiselwa esibhedlele
samfaka ke ku backseat and then basuka ke exit yahamba towards isibhedlela
Ngaphambili, ijaji ithe yafuna ingcaciso malunga nendlela yokubuzwa kwengqina langaphambili uZandile Khumalo ngamagqwetha abarhanelwa.
Ucele ushwele unogada osolo ngokugqugquzela abantu kuba bacekele phansi inxanxathela yezitolo iBrookside eMgungundlovu ngesikhathi sezibheluza ngoNtulikazi ka2021. Umdumiseni Zuma wabasematheni ngesikhathi eqopha ivideo enxenxa izakhamuzi ukuthi zicekele phansi lenxanxathela yezitolo. Uyikhalele ngelithi Nkosi yami wabe eqiwe uphuzo oludakayo ngesikhathi eqopha le video. Ubevele enkantolo yesifunda saseMgungundlovu mayelana nezintolo zokutapa kule ndawo.
Umdumiseni Zuma usobishini ngenxa yenkulumo ayenza kusanda kuqala ibheluza ngonyaka u2021. Umbuso okholwa ukuthi lenkulumo kaZuma iyona yabhebhezela udlambedlu olwaholela ekutheni kucelwe phansi inxanxathela yezitolo iBrookside Mall. Ngaleso sikhathi kwakuvele kutatshwa ukudla ezitolo kulinyazwa nempahla ecela kwigidigidi zamarandi. Ivideo wayenza ngolimi lwesiZulu. Umbuso ulethe ofakazi ababili abasize inkantolo ngokuhumusha lenkulumo iyesingisini nakuba umdumiseni Zuma ekuvuma ukuthi uyena oyiqophela le video uyakuhlaba ukuthi ngayo waqhuquzela abantu kuba bavuka umpetshazane bashise lezi zitolo. Utshele inkantolo ukuthi samphoxa kakhulu lesigameko futhi uyayisola ngaso. Ehlonywe imibuzo umbuso, uZuma ugcine kuvumile ukuthi omunye umuntu wabowa le video wayengayithatha into ayishoyo ayisebenzise ngendlela engeyiyo. Uzwakala kuye enxonxa ama-comrades ongabangani bakhe ukuba bezocela phansi izitolo uma izobe isavuliwe ngakusasa nakuba ethi wayengaqondile ukuthi abantu benze njalo. Umbuso uchaze uZuma njengomuntu onamanga noshintsha izitatimende nokuthi kumele ajezele izono zakhe zokuphephezela ibheli ezaholela ekushisweni kwenxanxathela yezitolo. Kulendele ukuthi abameli beinhlangothi zombili bazwakalisa amaphuzu okugcina kulolu daba ngolwesithathu. Eindabeni ze-SABC nginguvusi Khumalo ePietermaritzburg.
Inkokheli ezintsha zombutho wamanina ANC zibhengeze amalunga ngamashumamane ekomiti yolawulo onyulwe kwinkomfa ibiseGauteng.
Uqithile ke ngoku umsebenzi wokunyula inkokheli zeliphiko lwamanina le-ANC. Ngoku ke lamanina athi aza kubhinqela phezulu aqinisekise ukuba umbutho we-ANC uyaluphumelela unyulo lukazwelonke kulonyaka uzayo. I-ANC Women's League nenomongameli omtsha kraca uSisi Sitholoshe igqebezele umsebenzi wayo ngokubhengeza amagama angamashumamane amalungu esigqeba esilawulayo sikazwelonke.
We invite them, they form part of us. It becomes a standard approach that if you are a former ANC president or the ANC Women's League, automatically then you form part of a structure that will be elected.
Unobangela ukuba kubekho amalungu ambalwa ongezelelweyo, i-additional members ngesilungu, kukuba amalungu ebezima selenkomfa aye ashiywa lixesha kwanyanzeleka ke ukuba bahambe bengekavoti. Utholoshe uthi iza kuba nguye owenza umkhombandlela walombutho kunye nezinye inkokheli kunye nesigqeba esilawulayo.
Our discussion have been marked by purpose and determination. However, due to time constraints, the ANC Women's League 13th National Conference didn't conclude its business. As a result, a decision was taken to adjourn the National Conference in order to convene it at a later time to determine by newly elected National Executive Committee.
Kusenjalo, inkokheli ezintsha zibhengeze ukuba umlenze wesibini wenkomfa uza kubanjwa kubuxhaka-xhaka bale mihla, nalapho kuzabe kuxoxwa ngomgaqo-nkqubo.
Isikhungo sabahlengi basolwandle kuzwelonke sinxusa izakhamuzi zaseNingizimu Afrika ukuba ibambe iqhaza uqeda igameko zokuminza kwabantu kuleli. Lesi sikhungo sithi izingaphezulu kwe1,400 zehlakalo zokuminza kwabantu eyibikwa minyaka yonke ezweni. Lokhu ke kuza nje izolo bekugujwa usuku lokugwema ukuminza kwabantu emhlabeni jikelele.
I-World Health Organization yahlonza izigameko zokuminza kwabantu njengento ke eyinselelo ebucayi ebhekene nomhlaba. Ngo-2021 ke kwaqala kwabungazwa lolu suku emhlabeni jikelele. Abe-National Sea Rescue Institute bathi lelizwe libhekene nenselelo enkulu yokuminza kwabantu. umndeni wakaChethi walahlekelwa indodakazi yawo eqaleni kwalenyanga kulolu lwandle lwasemhlanga.
This particular beach that we were at is a non-swimming beach, and there was one tiny little signage there that we did see, yes, but we were not aware of the fact that we're not even allowed to dip our feet in the water, because honestly speaking, there were many people swimming in that water that day.
Abe National Sea Rescue Institute bathi bakhathazekile ngalezi igameko.
Bantu baminza kakhulu sisithi amanzi lawa fresh, amanzi angasekhaya lawa angafani nasolwandle noSawoti. So I fresh water la khona emfuleni ngaba sedamini kungaba nje amanzi aqhamuka ngesikhathi ezikhukhula, but lamanzi anganawo, so diwona la khona sinabantu abaningi khona abashona ngokuminza emanzini.
Lenhlangano ithi izoqinisa ke umkhankaso wayo wokuqwashisa ngalesihlava ezikoleni. NginguSimphiwe Emakhanya wezindaba ze-SABC ngiseThekwini.
Inkonzo zezempilo sondezwa kufuphi kwingingqi zamafama nesecaleni Ntshona Koloni ngeziko lezempilo lezigidi ngezigidi zerandi elisungulwe kwidyunivesithi yeLiphondo.
Iziko lezempilo elinezixhobo ngokugqibeleleyo liyaqhuba ngenjongo zokufikelela kwiingingqi ezisemagqagaleni nezijamelene nenquleqhu zokufikelela kwiinkonzo zempilo. Kusekwe amagumbi amathathu okubonisana nalapho kugqithiswa iindidi zenkonzo ezohlolo neenkqubo.
We focus on pap smear, HIV and AIDS testing, TB. So those are the ranges of services, glucose testing, cholesterol testing. So we use our nursing students in the faculty to actually do these services to the community, being supervised by the professional nurses and their lecturers and supervisors.
Le kliniki iza kuhlaba ikhangele ukusebenza kwindawo ezahlukileyo zephondo sele ifikelele neenkqubo zayo kwindawo ezifana neMitchells Plain. Idyunivesithi yaseNtshona Koloni ithi le yenye yeenkqubo zayo ezicwangciselwe ukuvala umsantsa wokurhuqa kwesidima kweengingqi ezithe qelele nedolophu.
We want to send multi-professional teams. So we will have our lawyers providing legal advice to the community. We will have our dentists providing dental care with very, very sophisticated technologies. And then now we have for nursing, physio, occupational therapy. And so the idea is to have a multidisciplinary team.
Abasemagunyeni kwezempilo zephondo bathi ukwandisa iinkonzo zempilo de zixhamleke nakwindawo ezinoqoqosho oluxhokekileyo ngundoqo eqinisekiseni imo esemgangathweni yempilo kweli phondo. Iintsuku zokusebenza kweli ziko ziqingqwe ngokweengingqi eziza kugqithiswa kuzo iinkonzo zempilo.
Ukubheduka komkhuhlane wezingulube iswine flu eEastern Cape kunomthelelo ongemuhle einhlelweni zesifundazwe zokuthengisa izingulube. Leli gciwane elingenawo umgomo futhi elingalapheki liphoqa abalimi abasafufusa ukuba bagcine beyihlabile izingulube zabo. Umnyango wezokuthuthukiswa kweindawo zasemakhaya esifundazweni wexwayisa abalimi ukuthi bangalokuthi badle izingulubo ezibonisa izimpawu zalomkhuhlane. Lo mbiko siuhlanganiselwe intatheli yeindaba ze-SABC uAbongile Yankisi.
Icases zokuqala zentsholongwane yeAfrican swine fever zaqala ukuphawulwa ngo-2019 apha ephondweni. Kumafama afana njengobusisi wembane nowaqala elishishini ngesibonelelo sikarhulumente se-350. Oku kunefuthe elibi. Ngoku ujongene nokuphulukana nelishishini ngenxa igquba lentsholongwane.
Ndibulele iihagu ezi-13 ngenxa yombulalizwe. Ibuhlungu kakhulu ke. Akuvakali kamnandi ngoba okokuqala ukutya kwehagu kuyadura. Then ukubukela iphupha osalizamayo kulakha lichabalala nje kanjalo kuba ngoku kufana nokuchabalala kwephupha.
Namafama jikelele nawo avakalise inkxalabo yabo.
Amafama wethu azawulahlekela and ukhumbula into abana bebincedisiwe ngemali ngurhulumente kubana bathenga amantshontsho bathenge nefeed. Now kwezi hagu ezi zabe suppose bazi-improve i-genetics zazo ziyilahleko leyo, and ke ngoku apha ezilalini sixhomekeke ekutyeni kwakule mali sithengisa kwihagu nemisebenzi, and siyayazi ke ngoku amashishini amancinci ngala akwazi badala amathuba omsebenzi.
Kusenjalo oku kunganefuthe kwezoshishino gabalala.
Sisifo esi-sensitive kakhulu and siyaz affect exports. Abantu abafamisha ngehagu kakhulu ezilalini okanye ke abantu abakwi small scale iba yingxaki into yoba babe ne-infrastructure that allows uba iihagu zabo zibe ngaphakathi in the enclosure, so ke ngoku ziyabule.
Amafama achaphazelekileyo abongozwa ukuba axhulumane namaziko karhulumente asekuhlaleni. Abongile Yankees kwiindaba ze-SABC kwiphondo leMpuma Koloni.
Siphinde sibingelele mbukeli lapha ekhaya Jikelele, sibonga kakhulu ukuthi uhlanganyele kanye nathi. Iqembu elibusayo kulelizwe iAfrican National Congress limatasa lisingatha ingqungquthela zokuqoka ubuholi einhlakeni zalo ezahlukene. iANC ke yaqala yasingatha ingqungquthela yophiko lwentsha, kamuva nje ibisisingethe eyophiko lwesifazane, kanti kulona lolwesihlanu omakade bona beANC bazobambe yabi ingqungquthela yokuqoka ubuholi esifundazweni iGauteng. Ingabe iqembu elibusayo lizama ukuhlela kabusha yini inhlaka zalo njengoba selisemume nje ukhetho likazwelonke lizobanjwa ngonyaka ozayo? Ukuthola kabanzi ngalokho sixhumana noSamkele Maseko intatheli yezokubuswa kwezwe lapha eSABC. Sikubingelela Samkele, sikwamukele ohlelweni sibonge ngesikhathi sakho namhlanje. Ingabe yini eyenza ukuthi iqembu elibusayo libonakale lilandelanisa ingqungquthela zalo eduze kanje?
Into eyenzakalayo ukuthi iqembu elibusayo lihlela zonke inhlaka zazo ukuze masebe okhethweni likazwelonke uphiko labesifazane, uphiko labasha, uvuka ibambe yona ANC Youth League. Noma kade beyibona bomzabalazo bona laba ababizwa ngeveteran league bebe sebeneyinhlaka zabo eseyivuteliwe amalunga alo lezi inhlaka ukuze bezokwazi ukuphuma inkalo zonke zaseNingizimu Afrika bekhakhasela yona iANC ukuze ibuye njengeqembu elibusayo lana eNingizimu Afrika.
Ingabe Samkele kulezi ingqungquthela eseyibanjiwe nje okwamanje sibonile bekuneyophiko lwentsha kanye ke neyabesifazane, ingabe laba baqokiwe bayagcolisa yini ebantwini abangavota ke ngonyaka ozayo?
Ukhona Malaji lo okhethwe njengomongameli walo uphiko lwentsha leANC Youth League kade ewumholi wabafundi phecelezi iCOSAS, ewumengameli weCOSAS, uphuma kuzona futhi inhlaka zenhlangano zabafundi phecelezi iSASCO. Ukaye kade futhi ethathe isikhathi eside ehola zona inhlaka esemasebeni aphansi ayo uvuka ibambe iYouth League kade ehola iANC khona esifundeni sase-Ekurhuleni, wangena kwisifundazwe saseGauteng, wagcina sengene nakwisithimba elalibekiwe lesikhashana lokugqugquzela yona iANC Youth League ukuthi iye kwingqungquthela phecelezi NYTT. Ilapho ke akhethwa khona-ke ngelamasonto amabili adlule njengomongameli wayo iANC Youth League. Kanti-ke umongameli wabephiko labesifazane uSisito Lashe ngonyaka ka-2008 wakhethwa njengonobhala jikelele wayo uANC Women's League, lapho Motshekga wayekade ekhethwe njengomengameli wayo iWomen's League. Kwawukuthi-ke kunyaka ku-2015 uSisito Lashe wayekade encintiselana naye uMoya Matuba kwisikhundla sokubona ubhala jikelele encintisana naye uBathabile Dlamini, oBathabile-ke bawudla umhlanganiso ngaleyo nkathi. Sena-ke sekudlule yonke leminyaka manje ngo-2023 kwayilapho-ke Motshekga abantu ayehamba nabo ngo-2015 bakwazi ukubuyisa amabombo kuyona iANC Youth League, iANC Women's League, ukuze bakwazi ukuholela uphiko labesifazane lapho-ke uSisito Lashe akhethwe khona njengomongameli walo lolu phiko. Ubona-ke banalo uzinzo oluningi kwabesimame nabesifazane nentsha yabesifazane eNingizimu Afrika ukuze bezokwazi ukubuyisa abantu abasha bebuyele bezovotela inhlangano ebusayo kakhulukazi abesilisa nabesifazane kanye nalabo-ke ababizwa nge-LGBTQI community ukuthi bekwazi nabo futhi ukubuya bebamalunga ayo iWomen's League, baphinde futhi bakwazi ukuvotela nayo iANC okhethweni lakazwelonke elizayo. Lokho-ke ngonyaka odlule nkathi iNingizimu Afrika iyokhotheni bohulumeni basekhaya kanye futhi nango-2019 wayibona iANC Women's League phume inkalo iNingizimu Afrika yonke kumkhankaso walo kaMolo Makhelwane ukuze kwazi ukunxenxa abantu baseNingizimu Afrika kanye nabesifazane emalokishini esemakhaya kanye nasemadolobheni ukuze bezokwazi ukuphuma beyovotela nenhlangano ebusayo.
Singalindela ini nje ke kule ngqungquthela amaseko yokuqoka ubuholi bophiko loma kade bona ku-ANC ezoqala ngempela sonto kwazise phela sokhumbula ukuthi kuke kwaba khona esikhathini esiphambilini ukungaboni ngasolinye koma kade bona kanye nalolu phiko kanye ke neqembu ke le-ANC. Ingabe yini ke singayilindela kule ngqungquthela singayibona ihamba kahle kuzobe kuhlanganiswa amakhanda kuboniswana kuvunyelwane?
Kuzoboniswana kuvunyelwane futhi siyakwazi ukuthi uhlathi uthona yengene usiqeqele isikhundla somongameli bayi-Veterans League kanye futhi naleyo kade umongameli we-Veterans League manje sewukhona uSinokizikalala usagaqele ihlandla lesithathu ukuthi abuye njengomongameli we-Veterans League. Lokho esingakulindeleke nanokuthi yeke i-Veterans League uyibona esidlala isidlala indima enkulu manje ekulawuleni labaholi be-ANC abakhona ekubacopheleleseni ekubanikeni ulwazi ukuthi benze kanjani izinto futhi i-Veterans League iyakwazi ukubakhalima mase bephuma esandleni kakhulukazi nobhala jikelele wayo le-ANC ufikile embalulo okwazi nje uvela ayikhulumele edlangalaleni i-Veterans League kakhulukazi uSinokizikalala kanye nobaleka Mbethe bayakwazi ukuphinde bamkhalima bathi buya kancane nobhala ngathi uphuphala kakhulu lana asambe kanjena amagama akho wacwecwe kahle manje ngoba usunobhala umkhulu wenhlangano ebusayo akusafanele uvele ukhulume nje isinoma kanjani edlangalaleni amagama akho nje kumele uwacwecwe kube nesoka phakathi nobhala ukuze abantu baseNingizimu Afrika bengalahlekelwa ithemba iyona lenhlangano ebusayo.
Ngokubuka kwakho ke lezi ingqungquthela ezibanjwayo ngabe zingayiweza ngelibanzi yini noma zingayisiza ngani ANC?
Ziyisiza ngokuthi kuzoba khona inhlaka ezikhethelekile ukuthi abe-youth league mabe nenkinga bazokwazi ukuya kunobhala jikelele wayo ANC youth league umuntu oxolo ngudle nomongameli uKholeni Malatshe baphumzile uphindi kamongameli i-ANC Women's League inayinkinga zabo izokwazi ukuya kubuholi bayi-Women's League ngomasokuthi la izinhlaka zo-2 zizokwazi ukuthi zisuke ziye kubuholi obuphezulu bayi-ANC ziyobika phela ziyophinda zicele nosizo ukuthi abantu baseNingizimu Afrika besifazane babhekene nazi inkinga iy'nhlaka zethu ze-Women's League nazi iy'ngqinamba esibhekene nazo cela nisisiza kanye futhi ne-Youth League ikwazi ukwenza njalo mase-Veterans League yona-ke izokwazi ukululeka i-ANC ubuholi bayo ukuthi uhole kanjani iNingizimu Afrika ikwazi ukuqhathanisa ngenkathi uMandela esewumongameli we-ANC Oliver Tambo esewumongameli we-ANC ukuthi izinto zenziwa kanjani kule nhlangano ebuzayo ukuthi abaholi be-ANC baphaphalaze ekhambeni ekuyeni phambili.
Samkele bakhona ke ababeqhathanisa umengameli omusha we-ANC Youth League kanye noJulius Malema. Ingabe abamfaki yini ngaphansi kwencindezi uMalatshe ngalokhu?
Akekho umuntu ophinde afane njengoJulius Malema, akekho umuntu ophinde afane njengoPeter Mokaba, akekho umunye ophinde afane njengoLulu Johnson, akekho umunye ophinde afane njengoFikile Mbalula, akekho umunye ophinde afane njengoNathi Mthethwa. Ngibabala bonke labo mongameli baye-ANC Youth League ngoba balida obahola leli uphiko labantu abasha ngenkathi ezihlukene. Mawubheka nje isikhathi sakaPeter Mokaba, Peter Mokaba wahola i-Youth League ngenkathi ibuya ANC ibuya ekudikisweni emva kwengqungquthela yango-1991 eDurban Westville ye-ANC kwathi kwadlula inyangana nje ngaphambi kokuthi kubambe leyo ngqungquthela ye-ANC kwathi kwaNdebele kwabanjwa yona ingqungquthela ye-ANC Youth League eMpumalanga lapho kwakhethwa khona uPeter Mokaba, uJulius Malema, uMalusi Gigaba, uLulu Johnson babe yizithunywa uPhimi Majudina ubheke noJoe Maswanganye eLimpopo babe yizithunywa kulowo ngqungquthela leyo ANC Youth League kwaNdebele yakhetha khona uPeter Mokaba. Kwathi kudlula koPeter Mokaba emhlabeni kwaba khona uLulu Johnson naye wahola lona lolu phiko labantu abasha be-ANC Youth League. Emva lapho kwaba uMbalula kwaba uNathi Mthethwa. Emva lapho-ke emva kaFikile Mbalula kwaba uyena-ke uJulius Malema. Emva kaJulius Malema kwaba uKholeni Mayini. Abafani bonke nabaholi abake bawubamba lovuka ebamba ngeke ubafanise nomongameli wokuqala wayo ANC Youth League okwakuNelson okwakuyena-ke u-Anton Lambede owahola yona le-ANC Youth League. Emva lapho kwaba uNelson Mandela oyekade unobhala jikelele wayo i-ANC Youth League. Mawubhekisisa igxathu elathathwa yiyona leli isizukulwane sango-1944 se-ANC Youth League esayisungula uyifanise nayo isizukulwane sangu-Julius Malema esathi economic freedom in our lifetime ezasifuna inkululeko yezomnotho yagcina idale inhlangano ebizwa nge-EFF. Lesizukulwane sango-1944 sathi freedom in our lifetime inkululeko nangempela bayithola. Kwaba khona igeneration eyayibizwa ngama-Young Lions yango-1980 eyakwenza ukuthi ama-townships or indawo zamalokishi zaseNingizimu Afrika zibe ungovernable ngenkathi yobandlululo ukuze uhulumeni wobandlululo ungakwazi ukulawula indawo zasemalokishini. Ngibeka yonke le ndaba ukuze ungawafanisi omongameli bayo ANC Youth League njengoba ungekwazi ukubafanisa omongameli be-ANC. Awucabangi nje ufanisa uPresident General we-ANC uOliver Reginald Tambo, umfanisa noMandela, umfanisa noThabo Mbeki, umfanisa noZuma, umfanisa noRamaphosa. Bonke labantu bahlukile.
Samkele hayi cha waza wayilanda kamnandi sengizizwa ngathi ngikuyi-history lesson impela. Sisakhuluma ngabo ke ababengomengameli. Ingabe singababona yini ababengomengameli bakudala ke beqembu abafaka phakathi nje uThabo Mbeki, uJacob Zuma kanye namanye nje amalungu aqavile afaka phakathi uDokotela uZolimkhize bekhankasela iqembu.
uZolimkhize kuyimanje usedutshwe khona esifundazweni saKwaZulu Natal ukuze eyokwazi ukulungisa ingxushunxushu ekhona laphayana ku-Royal Household endlunkulu ukuze kuzophela ukulwa phakathi kwendunankulu yesifundazwe ngathi ngalulama ngokusheshsha esibedlela yena uPrincipal uThulezi kanye neNgonyama inkosi uMesizulu kaZwelithini iphinde futhi yohlangana noSimakade umntwana uSimakade ukuze kuzokwazi nje ukuthi kube khona uzinzo nobumbano endlunkulu uzokwazi ke futhi akuphume inkalo naye kwasifundazweni saKwaZulu Natal ukuze akhankasele iANC esebenzisana noma kade ayibona uANC uMichael Mabuyakhulu bekade ungqongqoshe kulesifundazwe kade futhi ebe yiphi lekahlalo wesifundazwe ahambe esebenzisana nabantu abafana noWillis Mchunu asebenzisana nabantu abafana noJacob Zuma ukuze bazokwazi ukuyonxenxa abantu esifundazweni saKwaZulu Natal. Kwakhona ubaba oyekade unobhala wesifundazwe ngenkathi kuhlanganiswe kwaZulu Natal uSipho Gcabashi kuzobe sisebenza nabo bonke ke labo bantu ukuze iANC ukwazi ukubuyisa lokho esikwazi ukuthi ingakutholi isifundazweni saKwaZulu Natal ubona nje iAFP engathi ibuye ngenkalo kulesa sifundazwe. Omongameli ke beANC abanye uThabo Mbeki uyamazi ubuye abuyele nganeno engayikhankasela iANC kakhulukazi ngesikhathi kaJacob Zuma wabuya wakhankasela uRamaphosa isikhathi ethathe isandla lokuqala njengomongameli waseNingizimu Afrika manje engathi ababoni ngasolinye naye ke uThabo Mbeki noRamaphosa unenkinga ekhona umbheki uthi hayi izinto ayihambi kahle eNingizimu Afrika no Matthew Siphosa abathi iANC kanye neNingizimu Afrika iholwa ngamasela ubone nje umbalula esemphendulile ukuthi hayi uyaphaphalaza kanye lapho ke loye kumgcina mafa weANC Matthew Siphosa ngokusho lokho. So ingxushunxushu neyinkinga zikhona kodwa ngokwazi mina uJacob Zuma nokuthanda kwakhe iANC ngokwazi uKhalema Motlanthe ngokuthanda kwakhe iANC labo bobabili noma kuthiwa ababone ngasolinye nobuholi balo iqembu bayaphuma inkalo beyokhankasela lona leli qembu uyena nje uZizi abuyele nganeno ayihlalele kwakhe nje ekhilane ayibukele.
Uma ngabe nje sesiphetha ke Samkelo ingabe ukuxoshwa kaAce Magashule kungenzeka yini ukuthi kube nomthelelo ongemuhle eqenjini ikakhulukazi njengoba phela kuyiwa okhethweni kanti futhi nje ngokubuka kwakho ke mhlawumpeli ingabe iANC zomaphi emva kokhetho?
eFree State uAce Magashule ubekhona ngenkathi kubanjwe ama-by-election khona eMangaung manje ngokuthi iANC yaxosha amakhansela awu4 lapha yana kumkhandlo waseMangaung azange kube nomthelela omngako omkhulu uba lokho kwenzakalile ubuzobona umkhulu umkhankaso ubuzobe ubhekiseswe ngaye uMagashule ukuthi hayi uyayidla ngempela indawo yabantu abasekela yona leli qembu leANC kodwa kuzoba ngenzakalanga lokho eMangaung sokwazi ukubona kahle ngonyaka ozayo masekiwa okhethweni.
Hayi sibonga kakhulu ke the Lord ngesikhathi sakho namhlanje sikufisele nje nosuku oluhle.
Sibonga kakhulu.
Mbukelo ke bekusamkele Maseko oyintatheli yeindaba zokubuswa kwezwe lapha eSABC okamanje sithi nje qu ezitolo siyabuya ungalinga unyakaze hlala phansi nethezeke kusekhaya. Siphinde sikwamukele mbukeli ekhaya Jikelele sibonga kakhulu ngokuthi ke usahlanganyele kanye nathi. Inhlangano ebhekele ukulungiswa kwezempilo iHealth Justice Initiative imangalela ungqongqoshe wezempilo kulelizwe uDokotela uJoe Phahla njengoba ifuna inikezwe imininingwane ethinta zonke izinkontileka ezanikwe inkampani ezazelekelela ngeinsiza zokulwa nobhubhane lwesifo iCovid-19. Lenhlangano ngembukeli ifuna ukuthi umnyango wezempilo uvule izincwadi zawo ezithinta ukuhlinzekwa kwabathile ngeinkontileka. Umnyango wezempilo ke wona wala uyaphethe ukuhlinzeka abathile ke ngalemniningwane. Kanti ke ukuthola kabanzi njengamanje ke mbukeli soxhumana no Marlies Richa ovela kuyona ke lenhlangano. Good morning Marlies, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Before we delve any further into this matter, Marlies, I would really like to know why the Health Justice Initiative started legal action to demand the disclosure of every contract for the COVID-19 vaccination.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear the question. Was the question why we've taken legal action on the contracts case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think our ask is quite a simple one. It's for the South African government to publish the contracts that it had signed with vaccine manufacturers during the height of COVID that enabled us to get COVID vaccines in South Africa. We believe that pharmaceutical companies demanded that there are non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality clauses built into the contracts, which meant that that government can't publish them. And we are asking the court to direct the department to do so. We believe that there are important components of those contracts that should be in the public domain. And we are particularly interested in whether we had to pay more for vaccines than other countries, and what some of the conditions are that either enable or preclude us from selling on vaccines or donating them.
So, Marlies, since you are saying the government is citing the non-disclosure as the reason why they can't disclose the information to you, what do you think will be the repercussions if the government were to disclose this? Would they be liable for some kind of legal action from the pharmaceutical companies?
The government in the answering affidavit noted that the contracts were negotiated in good faith, and that they are worried that there would be a damage to the relationship with pharmaceutical companies if they were to disclose these contracts. We believe that it should be open procurement. We know that National Treasury earmarked almost 19 billion rand for COVID vaccines, which is a massive amount of money, and that our constitution is very clear about the principles of accountable public administration and our right of access to information. We know also during the crisis of COVID that it was particularly important that people trusted government and that there was no suspicion around murky dealings or secrecy around issues of vaccines, because we wanted people to make sure that that people trusted vaccines and that there was no vaccine hesitancy. So murky dealings in the broader sense that they were things that we don't know, that's not in the public domain. And this is also against the allegations of great corruption, I think, in terms of COVID. And I believe for us to be able to scrutinize those contracts 2 years after they were signed, that we have a sense of what the insistence were of pharmaceutical companies, and that our government might have been bullied into accepting conditions that in normal times they wouldn't be.
Marlies, maybe prior to you guys deciding to take a legal action, have you maybe tried to get the health department to give you the information you needed without using legal action?
Absolutely, and I want to re-emphasize that legal action is absolutely the last resort. 2 years ago, in July 2021, we used the Promotion of Access to Information Act to write to the Minister of Health, the department, and say we need absolute certainty about the contracts and can they please publish it. The department responded to say that they would make submissions to the pharmaceutical. They'll invite pharmaceutical companies to make submissions on whether these contracts can be published. We didn't hear back from the department, and we felt because this is an issue of key public interest, especially because it sets clear precedent for open procurement that we know that the South African government is committed to. That if all this information is placed in what we think is a black box, we don't even know who the contracting parties are, this sets a very dangerous precedent, and we believe that information should be in the public domain.
Yes, Maliz, I hear you talking about the transparency of the contracts. Why do you believe that the procurement of public goods requires contractual transparency, especially in a case where I would think the country borrowed a lot of money, is sinking in debt because there was some money that was used during the COVID times to buy these vaccines?
Sorry, could you repeat the question? It was very faint.
Oh, sorry. I was just asking, why do you believe that the public procurement of public goods requires contractual transparency?
Yes. I think it's a clear constitutional principle, and as taxpayers, we can, in a country, in a democratic country, we are entitled as taxpayers to that information. Especially, I think that the issue of transparency and accountability are key values in our country. And I think especially during pandemic times, when there are less checks and balances and measures available for us to scrutinize dealings, it's even more important to have transparent mechanisms in place. And it goes back to trust in government and people to have information around what government is doing in our name.
So, Maliz, do you think maybe perhaps another major reason why you, as an initiative, you want to hold the government accountable, another reason maybe could be the reason that there was a lot of money that was borrowed from the BRICS Bank and so forth. So do you perhaps maybe suspect also, because there have been a lot of reports that there was misuse of funds during the COVID pandemic. So do you also think that maybe if they were to disclose, they would also come up, we'll also see things coming up like the misuse of funds?
So we're not sure what has happened. When I use the word murky dealings, I mean dealings behind closed doors that we can't know what happened there. Yesterday in court, when the judge heard the case, the Council for Government noted that the council hadn't even seen these contracts, and we are asking who is able to see the contracts. The Auditor General, the Presidency, usually the checks and balances that we have around governments contracting with third parties. And I think in the context of corruption, it's even more important that we can see what type of provisions were agreed to. You would recall the liability that government had to take on for vaccines. And we want to make sure that can be scrutinized and that we can see where the money went and what we can do with the vaccines, the leftover vaccines. Were there requirements that prohibited the South African government from donating or selling the vaccines on? And who signed the contract? With whom? What were the provisions in it? I think those are quite simple things that will help us to understand the negotiations around it better.
So what do you think the impact will be that this case will have with regards to future pandemics, for example?
Yes. So many people believe that we need to anticipate the next pandemic. And we believe this sets a precedent that when the next pandemic comes, that we have absolute clear guidelines around transparency and accountability. And that also in terms of national health insurance procurement, that the public can scrutinize, that those processes are open and transparent, and that we can have trust in those processes. So we take on this case with a clear understanding that it is setting guidelines and precedents for future pandemics and the national health insurance.
Oh, well, Maliz, thank you so much for your time. We'll surely be keeping our ears on the ground to hear what the outcome of the case would be. Thank you so much for your time, and we're wishing you a lovely day ahead.
Thank you.
Lawo ke mbukeli bekuma Liz Richa okhulumela isikhungo iHealth Justice Initiative. Ubekhuluma ke ngemigudu yezomthetho ngokutholakala kwemininingane ethinta inkontileka noma ivumelwano ezithinta ubhubhane lwesifo iCovid-19. Njengamanje ke mbukela siqu 8 siyabuya emva kwekhefu.